Started.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه أجمعين. We have reached the chapter of the subject and the predicate, and we said that if you remember, we started talking about the nouns that are marfu', and we said that there are 7 types of nouns that are marfu'. We went through the verbal subject, and we went through the object whose subject is not mentioned. Now we have reached the predicate, or the subject and also its predicate. The subject and predicate are both marfu' nouns. They have the inflection of rafa. And the way the author defines the predicate, he says, Bismillah, he says, Rahimahullah, Al-Mubtada'u huwa al-ismu al-marfu'u al-'ari an al-awamil al-lafdhiyya. The subject is the marfu' noun that is stripped from all explicit agents, or that is free. You can also say that is free from all explicit agents. So, for example, if I say Zaydun, actually gives the example here. I don't need to write another one. So, for example, when he says Zaydun qa'imun, if you look at the slides, he says where I'm highlighting, Zaydun qa'imun. Here, Zaydun is the subject and qa'imun is the predicate. What does Zaydun qa'imun mean? Zaydun qa'imun means Zayd is standing. So here, or if I was to translate it word by word, I would say Zayd is a stander, or meaning someone who stands. When they say bystander, so someone who stands. And now here, Zayd is what? Zayd is the subject, and stander is the predicate. Now, if you look at the Arabic, do you see anything else before Zayd? There is nothing before Zayd, right? Well, I'm talking about the sentence Zaydun qa'imun. Let's exclude the first part. Do you see anything else before Zayd? Zayd is the only thing, right?
Yeah.
Zayd meaning Zayd. So basically, Zayd is free of all agents. If there were any agents before Zayd, like Kana, for example, or Inna, or some of the other agents which we will discuss, then the inflection of Zayd would, for example, in the case of Inna, would change. But here, Zayd does not have any agents. And merely the fact that Zayd does not have any agents becomes the reason that Zayd is marfu, becomes the reason for the rafa of Zayd, right? Becomes the reason for these rafa of Zayd. So if someone tells you what is the agent or why is Zayd marfu, you tell them that there are no agents before. There are no explicit agents before Zayd, so it is marfu. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The same concept. So there's a difference of opinion as to what exactly makes Zayd marfu, makes the subject marfu. But this is basically the simplest one. The fact that it has no agents of explicit agents acting upon it. So qa'imun is the same thing. Qa'imun is also qa'im, but qa'im is the predicate. Qa'im is the predicate. And what does the author say about the predicate? He says, وَالْخَبَرُ هُوَ الْاسْمُ الْمَرْفُوعُ الْمُسْنَدُ إِلَيْهِ. وَالْخَبَرُ هُوَ الْاسْمُ الْمَرْفُوعُ الْمُسْنَدُ إِلَيْهِ. What does that mean? He says the predicate is the marfu' noun that is that leans that leans on the subject. So what does it mean to lean on a subject? So for example, when I say Zaid is a stander, what is it that stander is leaning on to for its existence, or what is it that stander is associated to, right? If there
Signifies
was
the
no
subject.
Zaid, yeah, exactly, subject. If there was no Zaid, stander by itself would not make sense, right? You need to have a subject for standard. You need to standard needs to describe something, right? Standard needs to be associated to something. It needs to belong to someone, right? And so if just someone told you standard, uh, standard by itself is not gonna, you know, uh, tell you who basically who is it that has this quality of standing, right? You need to have a subject and make this associate this predicate to that subject, tie this predicate to that subject for it to make sense. So it's kind of leaning on it. It's depending on the subject, right? Right. So Zaid is a standard. So that's how the author translates it or defines it. The predicate is the marfu' noun that leans on the subject. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, Sheikh. Sheikh, I've just a
Okay.
question. Uh,
Yeah.
the word qaim means to stand. Qaim.
Qaim. Yeah. Qaim is what we call the agent noun. Um, an agent noun is a noun uh, that signifies an action. And qa'im is an agent noun. It comes from the verb qama. Qama means stood.
Oh,
And if one of the way you make an agent noun out of qama is basically you go through some morpho some steps that have to do with morphology, and
okay.
then you come up with qa'imun. So qa'imun here is basically the agent noun, and it means stander.
So, Sheikh, the word would be qaf ya mim.
Qa'imun, qa'imun.
I mean, Sheikh, there would be the letter ya.
Yeah. So initially, oh, you mean how do we come up with uh?
I mean, Sheikh, the sentence that you have written over here, it's Zaidun Qaimun. I don't see any ya after qaf.
So here qa'imun, it's a hamza. It's not a ya. It's a hamza. Qa'imun. So qa'imun is different than qa'imun, right?
Oh yeah, that's
Hamza.
I got it, Sheikh. Yeah, there's supposed to
Yeah.
be a fatha. Yeah, yeah, I got it, Sheikh. I got it.
Yeah. Oh, you thought that's a fatha? No, no, that's not a fatha. Oh, maybe it's too small. Let me see. Oh, so this is a hamza. It's not a fatha. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh. Okay. So yeah. So such as Zaidun qa'imun. So the first example that he gives is for singular subject and singular pronoun. And one of the things um, about the subject and the predicate, the qualities need to match or the quantities need to match. For example, if the subject is singular, the predicate needs to be singular. If the subject is dual, the predicate needs to be dual. And if the subject is plural, the predicate needs to be plural, right? So you cannot have a singular subject and a plural predicate. You cannot say Zaydun qa'imuna. It does not make sense. So that's why in the first one you see it's Zayd is singular, Qa'im is singular. Zaydani here is what does Alif indicate here?
Dual.
Dual. Qa'imani here, Alif again, dual.
Yeah.
Zayduna, Waw indicates what? Plurality, right?
Plural. Yeah.
And here, yeah, exactly. Qa'imun here as well as plural. So, so the second example is Zaids, and the two Zaids.
Brother Shah,
Yeah.
I have a question about that. So it's not possible for a predicate to describe could be singular and it describe more than one thing, one more than one subject.
Yeah. So, for example, um, if you say um, Peter, you say the two Peters, um, the two Peter are a standard. The two Peters are a standard, right? You cannot say that. You would say the two Peters are standards, make it plural. So the same concept applies here. Um, you say that Zaidani qa'imani, meaning the two Zaids are standards. Would make standards plural, or you make well in English we don't have dual, but in Arabic, if there was dual in English, you would make it a dual. But because plural and the dual falls under plurality in English, so you just say standards. You just add an S to it.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So the two Zaids are standards. I know if we say standing, it'll be the same, but standing is the root verb. It's not necessarily an agent noun. We're talking the duality, singularity, and duality and plurality manifests itself in the agent noun, not in the root word. So if I was to translate it, that how we're used to, and say Zaid is standing and the two Zaids are standing and the three and more Zaids are standing. Yeah, it wouldn't be there wouldn't be a difference, right, in English. But that's not how it translates. Zaidun qa'imuna translates to Zaid is a standard, and as Zaidani qa'imani translates to the two Zaids are standards, and as Zaiduna qa'imuna means the Zaids, not necessarily just two, the Zaids, a group of Zaids are standards. Again, the dual falls under the plural in English. That is why you won't see a difference in standards here, right? Okay. So, do you have any questions before we move on to the next slide?
No, Sheikh.
Okay. And then he tells us about the different types of the predicate, the subject. He says, "والمبتدأ قسمان," and the predicate is of types. The first one is again the same thing that we discussed before. Manifest. Who remembers what manifest is? And hidden.
Sheikh, the inflection would be visible using a letter or a diacritical mark.
Yeah, so with the inflection, yes. But as far as the
with a
actual
name,
subject,
with a name, with a noun, Sheikh,
yeah,
like
yes, yes,
Mirajul, not with
yeah,
he or she or it.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so he says, and the predicate is of two types, manifest and hidden. And the manifest is what was already mentioned. So meaning the manifest is what was already mentioned. What was it that he already mentioned?
Pronoun.
Zaidun qa'imun was Zaid, yeah. Zaidana qa'imuna was Zaiduna qa'im was Zaidana qa'imana was Zaiduna qa'imuna. So here Zaid is manifest in every single example, right? It's an
Yeah,
explicit name.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's why he doesn't basically give us another example. He just says go back and check the example. And والمضمر 12, and the hidden are 12. Meaning, when we say the hidden, meaning pronouns. 12. So what are these 12 pronouns? Let me think maybe we could have 4 on each line. That should be fine. Yeah, I think we're gonna keep 4 on each line. No, actually, let me keep all of them like this. That's fine. So, what are these hidden pronouns that are for subject pronoun, hidden subjects? I, we, you, feminine, you two, you all, masculine, you all, feminine, he, she, they, dual, they, they, plural. So, okay, they plural, and then they, feminine. Okay. So, ana. What is ana? Ana, for example, I say ana qa'imun. Does he have examples? Yeah, we'll get to the examples. So ana is the first hidden. So think of these as pronouns that are not objects. These are pronouns that are that fall. If you were to replace the subject, the name, the explicit subject with a pronoun, these are the pronouns that would go in place, in its place. For example, in our examples that we discussed, Zaydun qa'imuna, Zaydani qa'imani, wa Zayduna qa'imuna. If you were to replace the Zayd with a pronoun, what would you put it? What pronoun would you put there? If you were to replace Az-Zaydani with a pronoun, what pronoun would you put there? If you were to replace Az-Zayduna with a pronoun, what would you put there? So this is what we're the pronouns that we're talking about. The pronouns that would be able to replace the explicit subject. So what are those pronouns? if it's the first person, regardless of whether it's feminine or masculine, it's ana. Ana is what you would put in the place of the explicit subject. And nahnu means we. So I've translated here. Nahnu means we. Anta means you, but male. Anti means you, feminine. Antoma means you two, and you two is general to females and males. Antum means you all, masculine. Antunna means you all, feminine. Huwa means he. Hiya means she. huma means they, but the dual, like I said, dual falls under what in English falls under plural. So when we say they, like you can use they for two people, and they, but in this case, yeah. So in this case, they is for the dual, and also the duals. Something interesting about the duals is that the dual is shared between females and males, meaning both feminine and masculine. Both the feminine and masculine dual would be huma. Hum is
I
the
have a question about.
yeah.
So if you're describing two people, they could as they they could be both male and female, or just two males and two females. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it could be two males, or it could be two females, or it could be one male and one female. You would still use huma for them.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
good question. Yeah, and then hum is they, but plural. But when it comes to the plural, we do distinguish between feminine and masculine. Hum is the plural for feminine, and hunna is the plural for. I'm sorry, hum is the plural for masculine, yes, and hunna is the plural for feminine. So
Brother,
I'm
quick
gonna
question.
put, yeah.
Oh yeah, the second last word, that should be an M, right? Instead of a P.
So I try to so this P uh, basically is what goes against the D. The D is the dual. I wanted to make sure that we're that you're transitioning to the plural. Uh, yeah, so I should put a PM like this
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah. So I want to make sure that everything falls in the same line. Too much. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Any questions regarding the slide before we move on?
No shade.
Okay. Next slide. It says the author continues by saying, نحو قولك أنا قائم ونحن قائمون. أنا قائم ونحن قائمون وما أشبه ذلك. What does that mean? Oh man. Allah, it's really slow. Okay. Such as I am a stander and we are standers. Okay. Now here, I is explicit or hidden?
Hidden. It's a
Hidden.
pronoun.
pronoun. Exactly. The same thing with we. So he gives us two examples. I am a stander. I is the subject. Stander is the predicate. Here again, the second example, we is a pronoun, meaning basically, which in Arabic it's nahnu. We are standards. The subject and the predicate is standards. And if you notice again, the subject always matches the predicate when it comes to quantity. I is singular, standard is singular. We is plural, standards is plural.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So this we can come up with more examples of you. Can someone tell me if I was to say you are a stander? You know, qa'imun is a stander in Arabic. And you know, we know from the previous slide that anta means you. If I was to say you are a stander in Arabic, what would you say? What would you say?
Uh,
Anta.
Sheikh, it would be anta kaimu.
Anta qa'imun. Very good. Who said that?
Sheikh, I made a mistake. I didn't pronounce the noon. I said kaimu. It's mutajim.
Yeah, qa'imun. Yes, qa'imun. Yes.
Okay, all right.
You would
Okay.
say anta. Anta qa'imun. Anta qa'imun. Now, and the homework for next week, what I want you to do is, you know how to make a noun plural. I want. Let's take the same example. Qa'im. Qa'im means a stander. And then you already also you know these pronouns. You know the 12 types, the 12 pronouns that that can be a subject. So I want you to play around with the pronouns and the dual, the singular, and the plural to come up with 12 examples. For each pronoun, come up with an example. We already know ana, right? Ana, you say ana qa'imun. And we already know nahnu, you say nahnu qa'imuna. And we now discussed anta. Anta is anta qa'imun. Anta is singular and qa'imun is singular. Now I want you for next week to go through the rest of the 9 pronouns and and basically come up with with sentences for each. And if you are if you don't know, for example, how to make qa'imun feminine, we will discuss that later. Let me just tell you how you make qa'imun feminine, right? Remember I told you like the Muslim is one Muslim man, and Muslima with a ta is a Muslim woman. So you add a ta to the end, right? That's how you make something feminine. So if you want to make qa'im feminine, you would say, actually, let me give you this example as well to make it easy for you. You would say, and if there are two females that are standing, two females that are standing, you say antuma qa'imatani. You see how there's a ta here? So that ta indicates femininity. Yeah, so qa'ima. Qa'im and wa qa'ima. Qa'im is for one, basically one male who is standing. Qa'ima is one female who is standing. Then you basically go through the assignment and answer the question that I asked. Complete your assignment with qa'im and qa'ima. But keep in mind that you will have to change the qa'im when it comes to whether it's dual or plural or singular, depending on the subject. The same thing with qa'ima. Qa'ima would have to change depending on the subject, whether it's dual, plural, or singular. In this case, antuma is the dual. That is why qa'imatani is also dual. Does that make sense?
Yes, Sheikh.
Okay, so that is your assignment for next week. And so it should be easy. It should take you, like, if you understood this, just take 5 minutes after the class and complete the assignments. Really, it will take you maybe 5 to 10, or at the most 15 minutes if you understood what we just discussed. Yeah, so just don't procrastinate. Try to do it right after class, and inshallah, everyone will do their assignment. And brother Sayyid Fahad, Jazakumullah khairan, I received your assignment from 2 weeks ago.
Thank you, Sheikh.
But they're
Inshallah,
still
Completely right, but I tried.
um,
Inshallah, I'm gonna try harder next time.
inshallah, barakallah, Jazakumullah khairan. But that's good that you sent it, because I think there are 3 or 4 students in the class that still have not sent me the assignment. And I keep on I keep
this week.
inshallah. I keep quiet, but I don't forget.
Sheikh, it's the assignment 4 with Jalasa, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
With
Sheikh,
Jalasa.
yes.
Good.
Sheikh, I'll be sending it by tomorrow, inshallah.
Okay. I think you did send me one of the assignments.
Sheikh, there
Brother
were,
Rajab.
yeah, Sheikh, I had 2 assignments back-to-back due, so I sent the first one, not the second one.
Okay. Okay. I've given you so many assignments that I have not received something for that I've forgotten, you know.
No, Sheikh, in the middle, I memorized those conjugates, so I put a hold to this Jalasa assignment here.
Yeah, no, Jazakumullah khairan. It's good. It's good. May Allah bless you for memorizing the conjugation. May Allah reward you.
Yeah, inshallah. Sheikh, the last class, sorry about that. Should I?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sheikh.
Go
I was
ahead.
saying that, yeah, Sheikh. In the last class, you were saying something that about yourself, that you had dedicated.
Sheikh, do you want to
life
first
for
end the recording first before we actually talk about these questions?
If it's not related, yeah, we can. So if any questions related to the class, please let's go ahead and mention it. And Brother Marajo, do you want to complete your question before we end the call?
Yeah, sure. It's a comment, not a question. Regardless, Sheikh, anything off topic, I could easily edit it out. It's all right. But the thing is, Sheikh, I was just saying that last class you have said that you have dedicated your life for this purpose of, teaching Quran and learning Quran, and that hit me hard. I was kind of slacking with my a few of the classes because I got busy with something else. But the last class, the words you shared with us, that really, inspired me to, continue even harder. So, Sheikh, I'm studying full on with this course, and inshallah, I will come out at the top in this class,
Yeah.
inshallah.
Well, yeah, Jazakumullah khairan for the comment, but I need to just make a comment here. I have dedicated my free time because I do work and I do go to school, so just I don't want to make it sound like I am this who does spend every second of every day doing this. But I try to like dedicate my free time to this purpose. And inshallah, may Allah grant us all the tawfiq to dedicate our time to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even the time that we're lazy and we don't feel like doing anything, and that happens to everyone. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us the strength to get up and do what pleases Him. So inshallah, may Allah grant all of us tawfiq. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless all of us with ilm and with knowledge and with iman, with taqwa. And if there are no more questions, if there are no more questions regarding the class or the content of today, inshallah, we'll end the call and we'll take any unrelated questions after the recording is ended. Any questions?
No, Sheikh.
Okay. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا.